I was able to play over 5 hours of Dragon Age Veilguard and it left me way more excited for the game. The combat has way more depth than I thought, there's a ton of room for side questing and exploration, and of course the classic BioWare staples like tough role-playing choices and some very well written companions are present here as well. I also have some exclusive info from my interview with the game director and producer, so big thanks to EA for inviting us to the preview event. Leaving a like would really help us out, subscribe for more videos on the game, and if you are a subscriber, you can join our giveaway for the deluxe edition of the game via the link in the pinned comment. Good luck! And the first thing that really impressed me when I jumped in the game was the character creator, where you can sculpt your elf, human, dwarf or Qunari in great detail. I chose the latter, and next to some amazing looking beards and hairstyles, I was also able to pick from a wide selection of horn types and materials. You can even change your body size and shape, and in general it feels super easy to make a good looking character. But your looks are just the beginning, as you also need to pick a faction background. There are 6 of these, and they basically decide what faction the player character Rook was a part of before they joined the Veilguard. They also come with 3 unique bonuses, like extra health and defense or an extra potion slot, but maybe even more important is the fact that your faction also has an impact on the choices you're presented with at key story moments, but more on that later. After that, I was immediately thrown into the first quest, which is the same one from the gameplay reveal, but don't let the linear nature of this mission fool you. Sure, there are story missions that follow a straight path through a level, so they can feature more cinematic moments and carefully designed combat encounters. But Dragon Age Veilguard also has several larger locations that you can freely explore. Here, you'll find new gear, valuable crafting materials, and dangerous optional enemies and bosses. Side quests are often also designed to lead you to previously unvisited areas, so doing these will pretty much always lead you to a place you haven't seen yet. And you of course don't travel to these places on your own, as you'll always have 2 companions by your side to help you out in both combat and exploration. For example, the Veil Jumper Bellara can interact with ancient elven machinery to open new pathways for you. Meanwhile, Master Assassin Lucanis can pull terrain from the dream dimension called the Fate that you can jump on to reach new areas. This makes repeat visits to older areas also worth it, as a new companion might help you reach an area that you previously could not access. And you can already see it, but the game is absolutely beautiful. I was able to explore vibrant forests full of ancient ruins, the lovely city of Treviso, and fight inside the walls of a Grey Warden fortress. And it feels like I barely scratched the surface of what the world of Thedas has to offer, including locations longtime fans have been dying to get to. And don't worry, by the way, if you're not a longtime fan, because while the Veilguard is set 10 years after the previous game Inquisition, it does not require you to have played the previous entries. While you'll of course be a lot more invested in the story, the opening hours set the stage for what is happening in the Veilguard really well, and you'll quickly learn more about the world through various lore notes or simply by talking to people. Anyways, there is one location that I've yet to mention, and it's a special region called the Crossroads that is part of the aforementioned Fate. This is a mysterious realm that connects to both the origins of magic as well as the origin of the gods and many larger secrets in the world of Thedas. While you normally can't enter it through a magic mirror in your home base, our party can step into and explore this ever-growing part of the Dream Realm. Some parts of the map are initially blocked off and can only be opened by defeating a Blight Champion, which is basically a mini-boss. You encounter your first one as part of your first mission in the Crossroads, but I was told you will be able to find more Blight Champions throughout the game, even in areas outside the Crossroads, to expand the map even further. And the Crossroads are especially going to be a cool area for those who want to get everything out of the lore, as a lot of things you can find here are related to Solus or Fen Harel, the elven god whose ritual you're trying to stop at the start of the game. Your confrontation with Solus is only the start of Rook's troubles though, as you'll be fighting a ton of different enemies and larger monsters over the course of the game. You'll enter battle as a rogue, a warrior or a mage, and after trying all 3 of them, I could definitely tell it's not going to be an easy choice because they all feel really good to pick up and play. I started out with warrior, who has access to a sword and shield combo and a bigger 2-handed weapon that they can swap between on the fly. Sword and shield is obviously the more defensive option, as it allows you to hold down the button to block incoming attacks, where most weapons only allow you to press it once to try and perform a parry, which is also the case with the 2-handed weapon. These feel very weighty with slower attacks, but you of course deal a lot more damage too, so they're a ton of fun to play around with. Mages also have 2 weapon options available available a more traditional staff that fires projectiles or a large energy wave as the heavy attack, and a dagger orb combo that's very cool. Orb attacks are mid-ranged elemental attacks that stack a primer on an enemy, and you can then detonate that primer with a heavy attack from the dagger to make you deal extra damage. And finally, the rogue does not swap between weapons, but is instead always dual wielding melee weapons. As their ranged option, they have a bow, which definitely seems like the most powerful ranged option. But while arrows recharge over time, you can run out if you rapid fire them. In general, you'll keep swapping between your melee attacks and ranged attacks, which for the warrior is a shield throw that can be charged up for extra damage. This attack is not just important to engage enemies from a distance, it also removes barriers that certain enemies spawn with. They can be removed with regular hits, but they take much more damage from ranged attacks. Likewise, when you see an enemy with an armor bar, you want to do heavy attacks first to strip said armor and get to their health. So even in the early hours, combat is already pretty engaging, as you need to make use of your full moveset in order to take down enemies quickly. But really, that is just the start of it, as you have a very expansive skill tree to improve your character's stats and add new passive effects, abilities, and combos to make you even stronger. With my first 2 skill points, I was able to unlock a counter attack to follow up a parry, and performing a parry would also give me a buff that would turn my next combo finisher or charged attack into a guaranteed critical hit. And while there are some flat out increases to stats, many nodes in the skill tree unlock new moves to use in combat or buffs that trigger when you perform a specific action. Your active abilities are also found in the skill tree, and since you can only have 3 of them slotted at a time, you'll have to think about which skills synergize best with your build or with your party members so you can set up skill combos. And good to know is that you can always respec and reallocate your skill points, something I got to do in a later segment of gameplay that I wasn't allowed to record. Here I switched out the parry focused skills for a more offense based two-handed build, fully focusing on stunning targets by building stagger and triggering buffs like igniting my weapon after an execution. So it really seems like there are multiple ways to make the same class feel very different. And then you of course have your companions to throw even more variety into the mix. There are 7 of them, and each one has their own unique selection of skills that they can use to augment you or deal some big damage of their own. You can command your active party members to use their skills and pick their targets by using the ability wheel, so you can easily set up skill combos by combining abilities. While companion skill trees are not as expansive as yours, there are still plenty of active abilities to choose from and passive skills that make those abilities even stronger. Some of your companions even have access to healing spells, giving you another way of healing next to your potions. Companions also have their own selection of weapons and armors you can find, which means that yes, there are different outfits for each companion. I was even able to confirm something very interesting in my interview, because there are some outfits that will only unlock as the result of you making specific key choices during their questline. Because yes, each companion also has a fully fleshed out questline that will let you learn more about them and might even lead to romance. And in the end, you also get an outfit that reflects the ending you got for that companion story. Each of them, with the exception of Harding, also belongs to one of the 6 major factions in Veilguard, meaning you'll already have some sort of a relationship with one of them. But the faction you choose also gives you access to unique dialogue options. During my second mission, I ran into a town where something clearly had gone wrong. Don't want to spoil the details of the story here, but after tracking down the man responsible for these events, you are left with a choice. You can leave him there, presumably to die, or you can choose to believe his claims of being manipulated and set him free. However, if you get to this point as a warden, there is a third option, which is to free the man but send him to join the wardens as penance instead, which basically means he'll be fighting Darkspawn for the rest of his life. Think Night's Watch from Game of Thrones if you're unfamiliar with the faction. During my interview, the devs actually confirmed that you can run into him later in the story when you travel to the Warden Fortress of Weishout. And I love moments like this, where not only do you get to make a big decision, but you're also confronted with the consequences of that decision later in your playthrough. And it seems like every main story choice will have significant impact. Like, I can't talk about the specifics, but I was presented with a choice that ended up completely changing one of the major locations, which is especially cool since you'll return there later for side quests and the like, so it's something you're constantly reminded of. To help you navigate conversations a bit better, BioWare has expanded the feedback you get when making certain decisions. You'll obviously still get to see if your companions approve or disapprove, but you'll also see what the result of your actions is is or sometimes why certain characters respond in a certain way. Sometimes these hints can help you pick the right dialogue options to comfort a character or upset them if that's what you want, and they also function as a useful recap of information telling you why a character might respond in a certain way. And I have much more info that I couldn't even fit into this video, so subscribe for way more videos on Dragon Age Veilguard. If you have questions, totally drop them in the comments below and I will do my best to answer them. A like would be awesome, and check out another Veilguard video by clicking on the screen. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.